Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of NC-17. My name is Josh, and today we have award-winning director, writer, producer, cinematographer. The man runs the gamut. We got JOE LAM. How you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, Josh. And yourself?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. Excited about this episode because there's yeah, I'm just excited. We'll get into it. But so kind of take us back a little bit, because I know that when you were younger, one of the main things that kind of got you into film was Citizen Kane. You know, I do a little bit of research, a little bit of research. But take us before that. Was there any inspiration as like a child when you were like 10, 11, or 12? Or was it really when you got into your teens when it really started kicking in?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like everybody, I've always enjoyed movies, and I just never understood how they were made. I never gave a thought to it. Like just growing up, and there's just products or there's TV shows or movies, and it wasn't until my teacher showed us in class Citizen Kane over the course of 2 days, and I'm just seeing like the tricks that he used for, having a camera fly through a gate. And I'm like, that's impossible. How do you do that? Or go up to like a picture frame, and then the picture frame it's holding there, and the people start moving in the picture frame, and the camera pulls back out. I'm like, well, how did he do that? All these things. And I'm looking around my classmates going like, do you guys not see this? So I started to understand that there was a artistry, there was a thought process behind making movies. I thought they just happened. It was just like making pencils or something. And so that really got me fascinated and interested in this industry.
Oh yeah. Uh, but you also, it's not just film. You do short film, you do feature film, you also do music videos, documentaries. So you kind of have your foot in every single kind of director's stable, I guess you can say. Uh, Shooting music videos has got to be something completely different than shooting shorts and full feature films. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, definitely, because it's more mood, style. It can be less narrative, because you're listening to the music, and sometimes a song has a narrative thread to it, or sometimes it doesn't. And so, but for me, it's always been movies. And so, yeah, I've worked on music videos as a producer or director or cinematographer, and it just was not really fulfilling, except for me to just improve my craft. So that's the way I saw it. And even the documentaries, the promo videos that I used to work on, it was never the end goal. The end goal is always, always, always to be a narrative feature film director, because that, to me, that has the most impact to move people emotionally. I've never cried watching a promotional video. I've never cried watching a music video. Um, Not even a TV show. The only times I really cry in terms of experiencing art is watching a movie. Not even paintings do it for me. And I think it's because it's so many elements of the visuals, the emotions of the performance of the actors. It's the lighting, it's the sound, it's the music. It all just bombards me. And if when it's done right, it's just captivating and so moving. And that's where I've stopped everything. I told myself I'm not doing anything else. No music videos, documentaries, promos. I stopped all of that, and I'm not stepping on foot on a set unless I'm the director. And by forcing myself to do that, I was finally able to make my first feature film.
Oh yeah. So in doing that and getting a firm footing is no pun intended, but uh so when you got to being able to where you were dead set on your first set, you're directing your first feature and everything like that. What was the feeling you were having like minutes and seconds before you yelled action?
It's interesting. Well, it was actually Lauren Rivera was our first shot that we captured with her in a hospital gown in a clinic. And after we, got that first shot, I was like, oh, this is it. We're here. It was months leading up to this. It was a year of writing this thing, 45 drafts. And it was over 20 years culmination of all these like short films that I'd worked on, 12 that I directed, 20 that I'd produced, because I wanted to respect the audience in a way that when I made my first feature film, I knew that I would be able to pull it off and engage an audience from beginning all the way to the end, which is what I call the magic trick. But yeah, getting that first shot, it was an experience that was almost out of body. It's a dream come true.
Oh yeah. And so rumor has it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you had two films in mind that kind of got your creative juices flowing, and that was the original Nightmare on Elm Street and The Thing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Tho-
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, those two. Part of it is because I see so much like CGI in movies nowadays, and I'm just like, like sometimes I have to turn it off. I'll be honest. Like I just can't watch it. I don't buy into it, and I'm thinking like it can't be that hard to do practicals. Whether you're doing monsters or spaceships. I mean, like they before CGI, that's what the filmmakers used to do. And so those are the movies that I'm drawn to because I grew up in the 80s and 90s and I'm seeing these things that are like, yeah, they're not perfect, but that's the whole point. That is not perfect. But when the storytelling is so good and you're seeing the thing, the creature in all different forms in its nastiness, or Freddy doing what he does, like just slicing people up and just all the zaniness and craziness going on, I'm caught up in it. I'm not thinking like, oh yeah, that's a fake puppet that they're using. No, I'm buying into it because they've thrown all this blood and slop and just goo and craziness all over it that I'm enjoying it so much. And the storytelling is so good that I wanted to make a movie that was harkening back to the practical effects and the 1980s style.
All right. I am a big fan of practical effects. Like a lot of people, like all my friends are like, "Oh, we love the Marvel stuff. We love all this stuff. You guys can have all that." Marvel was good up until Endgame, and after that, there was nothing good except for Deadpool and Wolverine, my opinion. But I like the throwbacks to the '80s, such as Return of the Living Dead and stuff like that. I mean, those practical effects were so phenomenal that now when people do practical effects like in this year and in the last 10 years, I can see the throwbacks that you guys are doing, and as a fan I'm like, that's fucking awesome. So for that aspect, I thank you because I'm a big fan of practical effects. Uh so with the Fetus, it came out in March, I think March 7th, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You get a lot of positive feedback, I see, and a lot of people are enjoying this film. And you got powerhouse actor Bill Moseley in there. You got Lauren Lavera, but I mean, yeah, they're good. They're awesome. But the thing is for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, they do their part to kind of like just make sure that the director's vision is pointed out in the way that he or she wanted it. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I would actually disagree with you, Josh.
Okay, I like this.
Disagree because for me, I'm the type that likes to be as collaborative as possible. So on day one, when we had gathered around in a circle outside of this clinic before we went in to shoot, I told everybody, I said, you could be anywhere in the world right now, but you are here in Pennsylvania working on this movie. And this is not, don't think of it as my movie. Yes, I wrote the story, kicked it off, I'm leading the way, but because you are touching this, you are physically touching this movie. This is now a shared vision for all of us because you made the choice to jump on board this story because it resonates with you in some way. And so I don't see it as my vision. I see it as the collective vision of everybody, the over 100 people that came together to make this movie. It's not just mine.
All right. Well, one, thank you for disagreeing with me because that only makes things more better. And it makes me see things in a different light because it's like, like directors, there are some out there that are definitely, like, hey, this is my vision, this is what I want, this is what you're going to give me. Then there's directors like you that's like, hey, as long as it works, and we're all in it together. That's awesome, you know? And for directors to do that, it is so refreshing because now you're giving creative control to not only yourself and your crew, but now also your actors and actresses. And that shows faith in them and that shows them having faith in you, which is awesome. So that thank you for disagreeing with me.
You're welcome.
uh, so with everything that has happened from beginning to end of the fetus, was there certain moments that you kind of like saw in your head play out, but played out different? That was like, okay, that that was awesome, and it exceeded your expectations.
And honestly, there's a couple things, which is Lauren Lavera screaming her head off in a particular scene that before then I was on shaky ground. I'm like, this is like, is this, I'm not sure this is going to be good, but we're moving forward with this, right? Because you never know until you get on set. You've got dozens of people contributing how it's going to turn out, right? In my mind, it's perfect, right? But
Oh
when
yeah.
you actually get physically on set and you're making it, you never know, and you don't even know until you go to the editing room, right? So my, I guess, belief and the solidification that this was going to work was pretty low at first. Okay, to be honest, it kept rising with every crew member we brought on board, right? Of course, and it was like going, the needle was going and going, going, and then when that scene happened, it was like the third week, it went, and I was like, we got it. Because if she pulls the way she pulled it off, what she was doing in the scene, I was like, it's gonna make everything come together. Like people are gonna fully believe and be on board because of this moment. That's just this culmination of the story leading up to this moment. If that moment didn't work, I would just, I don't know. I don't know what we would have done. I mean, it would have been okay. It still would have been there, but like, this just like hammered it home. And the second thing would be the practicals, the creatures, right? We had two puppeteers. We flew in from Mexico, and I was like, I'm looking at what they're doing. I'm like, they're going moving kind of slow. I'm like, oh, I wish it was faster, you know? But the funny thing is, when I operated it before they arrived, like the first week, because they didn't get there a little bit later, and I operated with someone else, and then I compared the footage, and I was like, oh yeah, theirs is way better. They're more believable. I'm like, I understand why they did it, but the thing is, I didn't interfere. They had expertise as puppeteers from the past, and I did not impose what I felt like it should have been. And so, luckily enough, because I allowed them to express their talent and skill and creativity, it works, and everybody loves the creatures, the way it is, the way it moves, the way it behaves. And I was like, oh, thank God, I didn't step in the way.
Oh yeah. Uh, so kind of in a brief way, give a brief synopsis. I mean, the story pretty much. I mean, the name of the movie pretty much tells the story, but I think there's a little bit more of a sinister turn that it kind of takes just from seeing the trailer. I haven't seen the movie yet, so but in your own words, since you wrote it, uh, give a brief synopsis of how you have envisioned it at first.
How I envisioned it at first, I envisioned it as originally less comedic, which is interesting. And when I gave an early draft to one of my producers, his name is Brent Trotter, he read it. He's like, Joe, this is funny. This is good. You've got the story. You've got, the morals in here. All the characters have an arc, like a place they grow. Um, and I was like, what do you mean it's funny? I'm like, we're making a horror movie. But he's like, Joe, you got to lean into it. And I was like, oh man. So I decided the way to film it was not in a way that was like that's like gritty realism, like so much shaky handheld, avant-garde, but to do it in a way where the story unfolds, and you can laugh at moments along the way. So it's not taking itself too seriously. And a lot of times there's this fine line that you have to balance when you're doing horror and comedy. You're mixing two different genres. But based on our reviews, I mean, people have loved both aspects of it. You've got reviews on Letterboxd, Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and overwhelmingly are positive. Of course, some people don't like it. Some people they get to a certain point in the movie and they take it seriously to the point where they're like, I turned it off at this moment. And I'm like, but other people are laughing their heads off at that moment. So who knows? This, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Uh, there's another actor in the film that I'm fairly newly getting to kind of see his work. Uh, Evan Towle.
Yeah.
He plays young Maddox, who is Bill Moseley's character. What was it like having pretty much two different variations of Maddox in the film, played by two guys who I guess you can say similarly look alike at different ages of their life? What was that like?
Oh, I mean, it was strange going into it, writing a younger version of an actor and not knowing if that actor existed in this world, or if if someone looked like him, if they even wanted to act. And so we booked the location, we were booking all the crew housing and making all these preparations, and then looking for this actor at the same time. But luckily, he submitted, and out of there was like a dozen actors I was looking at to play the younger version. I just decided, okay, I'm going to reach out to Bill. I say, Bill, who would you want to play you, the younger version of you? He's the one that pointed out Evan. And I didn't think he would point him out. I had someone else in mind, but I'm like, hey, again, collaboration. He knows himself. He knows what he looks like, right? And how
Yeah,
he looked. So I was like, okay, great. Let's go with him. And the requirement was to Evan, you got to have a beard. Like you can't. I mean, he had a very like small like beard or scruff, but I said you got to grow it out so like when people see you, it matches Bill. And so, but then filming him was great as well because he had to do things left-handed because Bill is left-handed
oh
and
yeah,
right-handed, so that was a challenge, but he managed to do it. So he's in the beginning, he's like throwing these alcohol bottles, into the fire and it's shattering. But yeah, he was great and he's in a bunch of scenes. So he plays a pivotal role, especially as a younger version of Bill Moseley. Yeah.
oh yeah. Uh, so when you were casting, did you have certain people such as Bill Moseley and Lauren Laverne as like pinpointed people or that you wanted in the film, or was it more along the lines of they reached out to you or they did the audition? How'd that go? Did you have specific people in mind?
Bill, for sure, he was my top three choice. And luckily, we sent an offer, we sent the screenplay to his manager, and he told me himself within 3 hours he read it and he said yes. And then, of course, we did a Zoom call just to connect, chat it up, and so that was great. And we wanted to go with a more a seasoned actor first because they would have uh, a longer body of work, more following because they've just been in the business longer. I mean, he's got 40 years, 130 plus credits to his name for features. And the second person we brought on board was Lauren Lavera. And we found her from Actors Access. She was one out of 7,500 actresses that submitted for the role. And when her self-tape audition came in, and this was halfway through going everybody, it was just so emotional and powerful. And she understood the character. She embodied the character right from the beginning, as opposed to ramping up, where I've seen some actors, they don't have a full grasp of the characters yet. And so they're still like in the beginning stages, but she just went all in. And I was like, that's really courageous. And then of course the third person was, and this is before Terrifier 2 hit. That's when we got her. The
Yeah.
third person for the main cast is Julian Curtis, and that was about 3,500 submissions. And he had that blend of the dramatic and comedic that he could switch and fluctuate between the two. There was three other actors that we were considering in our top five choices, but the others seemed like more serious. And so as a result, it's like, okay, we can't have just serious type of actors in here because then people are not gonna be getting the comedy. It'll be a little more confusing. Um, and so he was the clear choice for that.
All right. So I would be amiss if I didn't talk about. We'll go back to the fetus in a minute, but Fugitive Zero won, I think, over 56 awards. You know,
Yep.
congratulations, man. That's a feat. You know what I'm saying? Winning one award is good, but multiple, that's awesome.
Yeah. I got the book. I got the what do you call it? I don't know, the visual photo book right here. This was part
Uh,
of our campaign to fund the movie. So,
so kind of take us into that briefly, and we will go back to the fetus because there's a couple other questions I do want to ask about that. But in making Fugitive Zero, what was your thought process, and did you think it would be as big as it is right now?
my thought process was I'm going to be an action sci-fi thriller director. And so my 11 films that I directed before were romantic comedies, dramas, like a thriller, but they were all like very small, or they were, 10 minutes, and it's just not the right genre to be pegged as a, sci-fi action director. And so I hired a screenwriting coach, career coach. Her name is Lee Jessup. I recommend her to anybody and everybody who's interested as a filmmaker. We all need coaches in our lives to guide us along. And she said, Joe, if you want to do this, and she read the full screenplay version of Fugitive Zero, that's the feature film version. She said, you need to direct in this genre because you don't have anything in your short films for this genre. And I just went, oh boy, this is going to cost a lot of money. This is going to, but I said to myself, like, Joe, if you're serious about this, you got to do it because otherwise no one's going to hand me, millions of dollars to do this film. And so I thought it was going to cost 20,000. I said, okay, all right, great. I get to spend my own money, right? Or invest my own money, make it happen. And the $20,000 got us 2 days, 2 days of shooting. And I was like, oh gosh, okay, went fast. um, but I had budgeted, for the entire thing for the 20,000. Even though we could only film the 2 days, I decided, well, we at least have footage now. I'll edit it together into a Kickstarter campaign. People will see the quality of it, and I'll raise an additional $10,000, for whatever other days I needed, right?
Yeah.
And so I did that, and we raised like $12,000, a lot of friends and families, and create a bunch of merchandise and stuff like that. And it ended up costing $40,000, total, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I got to put more money in. I had to sell whatever crypto I had. I had Bitcoin. If I would have kept that, that would have like, 8 or 9 times what the value would have been from back then or whatever it was. But I said, Joe, do you want the money or do you want the movie? And I was like, I want the movie, So I sold my stuff at a loss, and as a result, we made this film, $40,000. It was 15 minutes, and sent it to festivals, spent $5,000 sending it to as many festivals as possible, just racking up awards throughout the year, a ton of awards. And this is COVID, so unfortunately, I couldn't go to the festivals personally. They still did the nominations, the awards, and all that. So I only got to go to one event after COVID passed. But yeah, but the response, besides the awards, I don't care so much about the awards. I cared about how it affected people. And when they would watch it, they would just get caught up in the story. And that's where one of our main investors saw the film and turned to me and said, now that's a movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so the thing is, especially during COVID, everything shut down. You guys still had to continue doing what you were doing. Yeah, you had to keep pushing forward. And some of my other interviews, I'm not gonna lie, probably a lot of my other interviews, I've always said that COVID was when Hollywood became the B plus player in filmmaking, and independent became the A plus player. But I think some films teeter between A plus and B plus. You know what I'm saying? But some are above the A plus. Where would you say the fetus is right now? Is it Hollywood style movie, or is it independent style, or is it a mixture of both? Because from what I've seen from the trailer, I'll say it's a little bit of a mixture of both, which is very uncommon in most films. But what would you say it is?
Yeah, it's definitely low budget. It's not over $1 million. I agree with you that it is that mixture. Uh, because we had such a good cinematographer, we had two great cinematographers on it. Um, and our main guy, Jeremy Royce, I mean, he's nominated for a Student Academy Award and a Student Emmy, and he teaches at USC Cinematography School. Um, the quality is definitely there because people say it, and I try to say it from what other people have said about the film.
Yeah,
A lot of people have given it 8 out of 10. So Film Threat gave it an 8 out of 10. So Chris Gore, there's no BSing with him. So when he sees a movie, he tells it like it is because he doesn't care what the studios or even the filmmakers think. He just gives it his honest opinion. 8 out of 10. He literally says, like, Joe, you have a franchise on your hand here if you continue with this. He said he enjoyed it so much. And there's other people who have actually said, like, this is to them, this could be a cult classic. Other people have said, out of all the movies I've seen this year, this is the best horror movie I've seen. And they're talking like beating out like some of the studio horror movies that have come out this year. Or someone that says, I have a top 100 list, Joe, that I do every year. Yours right now is three. And it was only beat by Nosferatu, which is number one. And then number two was like some, Will Ferrell movie. And he is counting The Fetus as number three. And I'm like, I'm shocked that people are saying these things. And so, I try not to give what I feel about it, but I'm just sharing you what other people have said about it.
uh, that speaks to the character of who you are. I mean, you want to put the films out there for everyone else, which is always a good thing, and then you kind of forefront what everyone else thinks, which also shows that you are a very humble person, and again, respect to you, my friend. So but I think that because I do have a top 10, I do rate everything 1 to 10 and everything like that. I'll rate the trailer because it's the only thing I've seen. But the trailer is definitely a strong 9. Eventually I will see the film, and when I do, I'll give it a full review and rating and stuff like that. Uh, I want to say though, like, to me, just from the trailer alone, you get the throwback of, again, the practical effects, but you get the feel of now, you know, and I think the way this just things are going from, again, just a trailer, you got a very solid film on your hands, and I think that the world is your oyster right now, because I look at a lot of the different reviewers and stuff like that, and I think at least 9 out of the 10 I've read so far, the fetus has always been up there in a top, at least top 3, 4, or 5, and I'm like, that's awesome, But so what does the future hold for you and for this franchise, if it is a franchise?
Oh, well, I'm itching to do my next movie, which is, I call it a mix between Minority Report and Memento. It's called
Ooh,
Memory Hunter. It's a sci-fi. I'm going to see how far I can lean into the cyberpunk as well, because that's a genre that I really want to explore. Um, and then for the fetus, right now we are talking to a distributor and international sales agent. Yes, we had a theatrical release that ran for 2 weeks in a few select theaters, um, but we realized that we need someone else to partner with who can really get it out there. And this distributor in particular, we actually trust. We've met with over 30 distributors, sales agents, and a lot of them, unfortunately, I would do the background research, and the filmmakers were getting screwed over by them. And as a result, like we had a lot of trust issues. They wanted the film, but the transparency wasn't quite there. And the filmmakers that we spoke to who partnered with them were literally just waiting years to get the movie back because nothing was done with it and no marketing or no reporting. So that's unfortunate part of this industry. But these two we actually trust because I have a mutual relationship connection between them for 10 years that I've known this person. And they are going to be able to get it out onto, up to 60 platforms coming in September. And then the international sales agent will get it worldwide, because there's like over, 150, 160 countries around the world. And so to me, it's going to be a better way to get the film out there. Normally, after a theatrical release, you'd have, like let's say 45 days or 3 months for it to go to digital. But because of our limited resources and our limited knowledge, we feel like it's better to partner. And so right now we're looking at more September for the release because for them it takes time to prep all the artwork and all these things that have to go with it. And we'll have some new trailers that go along with it as well. And so that's where we're at. And in terms of a franchise for the fetus, it's going to be dependent on if some of the cast wants to come back. You know, not everybody, wants to stay in horror. That's my understanding. I know some of our cast members, they're looking into more like different genres, like romantic comedies or things like that. Bill is always going to be in horror, of course. But not everybody wants to stay there. So, but there are ways to make it work if the full cast does not want to come back. I have some stories planned that I can still make work. But I would do it in a way where we're not retreading the same storylines because I'm a fan of Breaking Bad, how the characters continually evolve to where every season it's almost like you're watching a different character because they've evolved so much. And
All right.
my goal is to show you something you've never seen before in every single movie that I make. I don't want to just show you something that's been done before. I'm not here for any cash grabs. I'm not here to just be bought out and sold. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about just making a bunch of money. I have a business that brings me enough money and that I'm fine with, that I'm comfortable with. I'm doing this to leave something behind long after I'm gone that people can watch for, up to 100 years because it's still engaging enough and enjoyable enough for generations to come.
All right. You want to leave your legacy, which is respect. Again, all respect. Uh, so we're kind of coming near the end of the episode. But I do want to give you the floor to where you can plug your socials and just plug whatever you want to plug. If you want people to reach out to you or not, that's entirely up to you. But yeah, the next couple of minutes is yours. You have the floor.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Josh. So if you want to follow the fetus and our progress, you can go to thefetusfilm.com or you can go directly to our socials, which are all at or hashtag the fetus film. That's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's the fetus film. Also, we literally have 2 days left for our grand prize giveaway. This is a $2,000 value where we will fly you and a friend 2 tickets out to Pennsylvania where we filmed at the cabin, the actual location we filmed the fetus. You also get a $2,000 spending spree. There's a bunch of like products, merchandise. You get Lauren Lavera's wardrobe that she wore in the movie, a severed arm prop. You get the creature prosthetics made by our two-time award-winning special effects makeup artist. And, even like a video message from select cast and crew congratulating you as the winner. So it's a big grand prize that we've been running for the last 9 weeks and going to conventions and just spreading the word. And so we have 2 days left. Whenever your fans see this, they can enter. Just go to thefetusmovie.com, and it's a free entry if they want to enter. Last thing is if they want to follow me, mine is it's Joe Lamb for Instagram. ITS Joe Lamb.
All right. Couple more things. So, what advice would you give to anyone who's trying to get into the industry in any way, shape, or form?
Number one, I would say ask yourself, who are you doing this for? Who are you making films for? Is it for yourself or is it for other people to experience? I've learned that when people create art, and especially film, because it's so incredibly tough, it's not like painting where you're by yourself, you're painting or writing. You have to collaborate with a lot of people and it costs a lot of money. If you are doing this for yourself, a lot of times I see people drop out because it only goes so far. It's like the Navy SEAL team. If they're doing it for themselves, they don't survive training. It's that Navy SEAL in training who says, I'm doing it for that guy right there. And it goes both ways. And they are able to push through all the hardships and difficulties. I am here, I'm doing it for the audience. I'm not doing this for myself. I've got a vivid imagination. I can see any story that I write fully in my head, and I get to enjoy it. But I spent 4 years making this movie so you can enjoy it, so other people around the world can enjoy it. And that is a sacrifice. It absolutely is a sacrifice. It is grueling. And I work on it every single day, and I'm still working on it every single day to get this movie out there. And if you're doing it for yourself, I find that it's going to be a lot harder. So ask yourself that first. And then, not only that, find the mentors and understand what it takes to fully tell a story and engage an audience. Because a lot of times people don't know the correct structure of how to create a character, the traumas, and how to grow so they get better, stay the same, or they get worse. They're just throwing stuff up on the screen and thinking that's a story. But every joke has a structure to it. Every novel with a good story has a structure. Same with every movie. Every song has certain structure. So go find the mentors. The one I recommend is called, his name is Corey Mandel. You go to corymandel.net. Phenomenal instructor. He wrote for the studios for 11 years. Last thing I'll say is create. If you're going to be a director, you better pick up the camera, you start directing. Even if you're improvising scenes with actors, get a couple actors, just keep creating. You want to be an action director, pick up the camera, get some people who know stunt works, just film action scenes, do it safely, of course, but create, create, create. Keep doing it because you need to flex the muscle. It's like going to the gym. If you want to be a bodybuilder, you got to go into the gym. You got to put in the reps. Okay?
Yeah. And then, final question. When you're 80 years old, actually, we're not even going to say 80, 10 years down the line, where do you see yourself?
I see myself making movies that will deeply touch an audience, that will give them a roller coaster ride. So they are forever changed from when they started the movie to when the movie is over. That is my goal. And it is in a way that would help them grow, whether they have a trauma or they have an issue with family or friends in their lives. They get a new perspective on life and how to treat people, how to behave in a certain way by seeing characters go through a certain journey that they don't have to go through themselves. And so it's this cathartic release that I'm looking for in the hour and a half to 2 hours of making movies that will cause a emotional, intellectual, or chemical change inside the body to move us forward as humans, to forward advance humanity in that way.
Well, I want to thank you, Joe, for coming on. You've been an all-star of a guest. I appreciate you, and I really appreciate your honesty, and I really do appreciate the fact that you disagreed with me. That made it all fun right there. But uh, no, it's definitely an honor having you on. You are more than welcome on the show anytime, and whether it be to plug something, talk movies, or just say, Josh, you got a booger in your nose. I clean it out every day though, so hopefully I ain't got one. But
Well, Josh, I do have to say, you know, please send me your address. I'm going to send you some merch
all
if I
right,
haven't already. So, and just thank you. Thank you for what you do for myself and also other filmmakers because we don't have big budgets and you're helping uh, expose us to your audience and your fans. We need all the help that we can get, as independent filmmakers, so definitely appreciate what you do.
you're most welcome. It is my honor, my friend, and for as long as you're in the business, I'm going to support your business. That's the best I can say.
All
uh,
right.
but I do again thank you, and yeah, it's been a blast, and I'm sure we'll be talking again. And until then, everybody, stay NC-17.